There are proper video essays and articles on this topic with loads of facts and theories all about loneliness in motherhood, how the nuclear family leads to social isolation, why capitalism is to blame for all of our problems, individualistic versus collective models of care. This video is not that though, this video is just vibes. Just me, a middle-class British lady, talking about her feelings. This is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately and something that I've been focusing a lot of my attention and actions on trying, emphasis on trying, to create my own like local community, create the kinds of friendships that I want and need in this stage of life. So I thought I would share with you some of the things that I have been doing to try and combat the whole loneliness in motherhood, the erosion of local community and all of that in my life. And I'm gonna get honest about how the attempts have gone, successes, failures, learnings, and challenges. But before we get into that, I would like to thank this video's sponsor, which is Surrey, my fave toothbrush. Hello, welcome to my bathroom. This is my Surrey toothbrush. I have been a genuine customer of Surrey before they ever even reached out to me about working together. I was getting sick of my old electric toothbrush because it would just get so dirty and it was so difficult to clean, and it would make everything around it and the whole sink area really dirty as well. I honestly can't believe I was putting that toothbrush in my mouth to try and clean my teeth when the outside of it, not this one obviously, my old one, was filthy. It was rank. And I'd heard of Surrey toothbrushes, and so I thought I would give them a try. They are beautiful, they stay clean, and they are sustainable. And I liked it so much for myself that I bought my husband one too. Mine is a winter fern and his is morning waves. And they also have some other colors. It has this slim aluminium body that is so easy to clean and even comes with a magnetic mirror mount, so it can keep your whole sink area lovely and clean and tidy as well. I love the mirror mount. The Sonic toothbrush gives you an amazing, powerful and gentle clean and has 40+ hours of battery life. And as I mentioned, they are a sustainable company. The brush heads are plant-based and recycled for free by Surrey. I changed mine recently, so I don't need to change it again, but they provide you with this little bag, and once you have got 4 of your old brush heads in there, you can send it back to them for being recycled. But they are super easy to and they have this excellent travel case, which we use all the time when we go and visit family and for weekends away, which also works as UV cleaning and charging. Et voila. So if you fancy yourself a Surrey toothbrush, of course, I've got a code for you. You can use Witton20 to get 20% off your order. There is a link in the description. Thank you, Surrey, for sponsoring this video, and back to my ramblings. All right, this is gonna be one of those like old school videos where I just sit and chat. I've got some notes and we're getting comfy and we're gonna chat about it. Last year, in 2024, I made this video that was a reel, it was a TikTok, and it was all about feeling lonely as a mum in London. And other than my viral dick soap video, that was one of my most popular videos. A lot of people were just feeling the same. And not just other mums and not just people in London, although obviously parenthood and being in a city come with their own unique set of problems, and that is my personal experience as well. But a couple of things happened because of that video. I did a follow-up video where I was like, okay, people, in the comments, say what your city, country, town is, and then try and find people who are local to you, because it wasn't just about like making internet friends. That's all well and good. We know how to do that. But the point was about making local connections. And so that post had loads of comments, and I've had really lovely feedback of people that have like met up IRL with the people that they've met in that comment section, which is very cool. And then also off the back of that, I had a few people reach out to me who all seemed very normal and lovely. I know with the internet and like parasocial relationships and being a YouTuber and whatnot, boundaries have to exist in a lot of cases. But I had a few people kindly reach out and say, hey, I think we live in the same area, I've seen you around, and One, if you do ever see me around, say hi. Please say hi. As long as I don't look like too frazzled and busy. But usually I've got time to say hi. And actually a handful of people reached out. And so I messaged them all back and was like, hey, would you be comfortable if I added you to a group chat with everyone who lives in a similar area? And so there's like a group DM of those people that I've kind of created. So that is also a thing. And I did meet up with one of the people in that group with our kids at a messy play thing in the summer. So lovely, lovely jubbly. So that's where it all began. And I feel like I've been talking about it a lot on my Instagram, but I feel ready to like make a whole video about it because I feel like last year I was really trying things. And so I want to talk about the things that are hard, the things that I want, because my needs are very specific right now. And I think that's okay to state in terms of like what kinds of friendships I want and need right now. Then I'll show you some of the things that we're trying, things that have gone well, and the challenges. Things that have maybe not gone so well or continue to be a bit difficult. Things that are hard, specifically for me. This is in terms of like how my friendship groups are organized, are arranged. So my London friends, the people that I live in the same city as who are my pals, they kind of fall into two groups. There's like my YouTube internet friends and then my uni friends who also happened to move to London after we graduated. But both of these groups of friends function in very similar ways. We do not live in the same areas of London. London is huge. We often have to meet up in central London. It takes like 40 minutes to get into central London. If I actually wanted to visit their homes, that's taking like an hour for some of them at least. Also, 99.9% of them are not mums. They're not parents. One friend of mine out of my like close London friends that are in those two groups is a mum. These are the kinds of friendships where I don't see them as often as I would like, and you kind of have to book yourselves well in advance to like organize hanging out. That's those kinds of friendships, but I love them and they're sticking around. Then we have my non-London friends, and these are my long distance friendships. And there's some in Manchester, there's a couple in Birmingham, one in Ireland, one in Bath, couple in Brighton, so maybe not super long distance, considering Ireland is like the furthest away one. And obviously I love all of these friends, great, love it, having long distance friends, places to visit, people to see, people to catch up with, but they're not the we'll get to in terms of the things that I want and need right now. Although obviously I still want and need them, plus more stuff. Then I've got my local-ish parent friends. And I say local-ish because again, London and somebody who lives a 40-minute walk away from me, I consider local in London terms. These are people that I met through NCT when I was pregnant, or like baby classes and stuff, like in the newborn time on mat leave and things. With these friendships, we've got local, tick. We've got other parents, tick. But everyone is so busy and just on completely different schedules. And also those friendships are not as close as the other friendships, like my long distance ones or my other London friends. Obviously, I've not known them as many years, and the only time we ever hang out is with our kids. So the friendships themselves aren't as close or as deep as I would like them to be, but do they have to be? Different friendships serve different purposes. I don't know. So the thing that I find hard is that I don't have like close friends, people that I am really, really close friends with, who also happen to be parents and live close to me. Like I don't have something that like fits that Venn diagram in the middle. And one of the things that really drilled that home for me recently was we were filling out a form for preschool nursery for my toddler for this September, and you have to put down 2 emergency contacts. So ideally, this is somebody who lives close by because they need to be able to go to the school and pick up your child if, you know, me or my partner aren't able to. They also have to be someone who knows my child well, so my child isn't like, who the fuck is this person? I've never met them before in my life. And somebody, you know, that we trust. And I was like, what? And initially I put my mum and my sister down. They're in Manchester. That is not useful at all. And it just felt very telling to me that we were struggling to come up with our emergency contacts for our child. That to me just kind of symbolized this whole problem honestly. I was like, oh, fuck. Yeah, we don't have anyone to be an emergency contact, and that there is the issue. Luckily, I messaged in my like NCT mum friends WhatsApp group, just being like, who do you guys have as your emergency contact? Does it have to be someone like really local? Like what? And most of them said that, you know, they've got family down as their emergency contacts because they live close by. We don't have that. And then very kindly, one of them messaged me privately just saying, hey, happy to be your emergency contact. And so thank you very much to them. I do think it's quite telling that the woman who offered to be our emergency contact isn't from the UK. So obviously she's had to build her own local community here because her family aren't here, childhood friends, all of that, like she's come to a whole new country. I do think there is something to be said there. And actually our other emergency contact are our neighbours who are also not from the UK. But I ended up reaching out to them and asking, which felt so awkward. I hated asking, but of course they were like, of course, yes, absolutely. And they know our child. And so it just made sense. So we have found emergency contacts. Anyway, been talking for too long already. So that's all of the different friendship groups. These are some things that I want. Obviously, a thriving network of friends that include parents and non-parents. Basically, I kind of long for like the uni friendship days, but that was just like when everyone was like in the student bubble and everyone lived a 5-minute walk away from each other. And you know, we're not students anymore. I left uni over a decade ago, but there was definitely some magic there. I want low pressure, regular hangs. I want last minute and spontaneous plans. This is so hard to come by, especially when you are a parent and you have another person that you're responsible for. But oh my God, do I miss like just spontaneously deciding to go and do something and not have to book your friends in 6 weeks in advance. It gives me such a thrill. I want more hanging out in people's homes and not like in cafes or restaurants or places where you have to spend lots of money. I want my kids to be friends with my friends' kids, and I also want my friends to be friends with my kids. Does that make sense? And I also just want people to come over, or I would go over to someone else's house, just to exist in the same space. You know, someone could come over, we can just exist in the same space, hang out, nothing major, while I try and get shit done around my kids. Dreamy, dreamy. So based off that list of things that I want, these are some things that we are trying. And I say we because many of them involve my partner. Okay, the first one is coffee mornings, and this was inspired by Anne Helen Peterson and her newsletter Culture Study. She's currently writing a whole book about friendship, which I cannot wait for, but occasionally she writes about friendship in the newsletter and talks about some of the interviews that she's been doing with people for the book. And she talked about somebody who did like monthly brunch club thing, and then a lot of you were telling me about Lucy Jane Wood, who has a coffee morning thing, and I messaged her and I was like, how does it work? So we've done 2 of these so far, and we've got our 3rd one planned and in the diary. And essentially it's just open house. We're hosting a coffee morning, you know, 1 Sunday a month. Come over, bring biscuits. The first one we did was absolute carnage. There were so many people and toddlers in the flat. The second one, just 2 families. And who knows how many will show up to the 3rd one. But the whole point of these coffee mornings is just to have like a regular low pressure hang that is in the diary, that people know that, you know, oh, the next Hannah and Dan coffee morning is on this day, like we can go, or, you know, if people aren't free, then that's fine. Maybe they want to come to the next one. And so that's been a lot of fun, and mostly been local mum friends. Although I have invited my other London, like non-parent friends, but none of them have come yet, but I guess it's not quite the vibe. But you are invited, open house. The other thing that I'm constantly trying is just putting myself out there. So this just means texting my local mum friends about plans, seeing if anyone is free to do things, sharing local events that are happening and seeing if anyone wants to go together. This is to varying degrees of success. It mostly results in a lot of rejection, of just people like, oh, I can't, busy, XYZ, da da da. Fine, but it is something that you just kind of like have to harden yourself to. But when people are free and you hang out, great. But somebody has to be the instigator, and I've very much taken it upon myself to be that person, because the outcome is something that I desire and something that I want. And so I am going to put in the effort, be that person that is reaching out, be that person who is putting themselves out there. But yeah, it does open yourself up to a lot of rejection. Another thing that I have done is I've joined a local business networking group, and I just discovered this from like some local businesses that I had been following on Instagram, and it really fits perfectly in terms of things that I want, because I'm also a freelancer, self-employed, small business owner, and so most of my mum friends have normal jobs, and so also our, schedules and experiences are different in that sense as well. Like, I took a much shorter maternity leave than any of them did. And so this local business networking is for self-employed freelancers. It is local, so it's people who are, again, local-ish in London terms to me. Like, it is a 20-minute bus ride away where we meet, but still, that is local for London, and it's other parents, and so it ticks a lot of boxes for me. So I've been to a couple of those meetings and connected with some of the people there, and so that is really lovely as well. The other thing is book club and board games group. So our local bookshop have loads of different activities and groups. It's a very, very cool place. Definitely get involved with your local independent bookshops if you have one. So ours has a few different book clubs. I've somehow joined 2 of them, and Dan, my partner, has gone to some of their board game groups as well. And so whilst none of that has at this point led to any friendships outside of those groups, we go to the group and we talk to people there, and that's lovely. It's one of those things where you never know, but we're doing things that we enjoy, and it's with people who are local-ish to us, and it's good to get out the house. And then I also play tennis. I do weekly group coaching, and I don't know what it is about the way that I phrase that, but every time I tell someone that I do that, people think that I'm the coach. No, I'm one of the people in the group that is being coached, not a tennis coach. But that's really nice. Again, they're kind of like the tennis friends. You chat whilst you're there, and then you don't really see each other outside of that. Do I want that to change with the tennis and with the book club? I don't know, it depends if any of them are parents. Because again, I've got priorities in terms of friends that I want. So yeah, those are just some of the things that we've been trying just to feel a bit more of a sense of local community. It still feels like we're at the beginning stages, we're still just planting seeds. That's kind of what it feels like. But I want to share with you some of the things so far that have gone well. So coffee mornings, I would say, have gone well, even though we've only done 2 of them. But one of my friends who came to the first coffee morning was inspired and is hosting her own. Unfortunately, I can't go to it, but that's the name of the game. But if we host a regular one and then she also hosts them every now and then, great, more low pressure, regular hangs into it. There was one moment last summer that felt like such a win for me. It was just such a glorious moment. I have Fridays off with my kid Rowan. Basically over the summer, almost every Friday, we would go to this messy play in the park thing, and the kids would run around and do messy play, and then we would go to the park cafe afterwards and have some lunch and let the kids play around and stuff. And I would go every week that we were free, and occasionally see other parent friends there who were also there. And there was one week where there were five different parent friends that I had that were there, and none of them knew each other. They were 5 parent friends that I knew from different things. And so I felt like the connector. I was like, so-and-so, meet so-and-so, and introducing everyone. And honestly, this is a theme throughout my entire life. I love connecting people. I love being the social glue. I don't even know. I just love being that person that just goes, so-and-so, you should know so-and-so, and being that person that's gathering everyone together. And honestly, it felt amazing. And that moment, it did feel like a win in terms of oh, I know all of these other parents. I've got all of these parent friends from different areas of life, and yet we're all still kind of local because we're all going to the same thing. So that was cool. Another kind of win moment, this one's a bit more obscure, but I got in an argument with people at my book club about J.K. Rowling and her transphobia, because someone had picked one of her adult books, and I was like, I'm out, peace, I won't be coming to that one. And a quote unquote debate ensued. So that happened at my book club, where I was trying my best to argue for trans rights and why J.K. Rowling is in fact incredibly transphobic and dangerous in what she is saying with her platform. That happened. And then Dan went to the board games group, and somehow the book club came up in conversation, and Dan said that somebody here that he was speaking to there said, oh, I heard about that. So in my mind, I became local gossip. And if that doesn't say you're part of a community, I don't know what does. So a bit of a strange one, but I don't know, there was something about it that made me feel quite good, even though obviously I don't want to be having arguments with people about trans rights anyway. But I became local gossip. If that's what I'll be known for, then I am happy to be known for that. So those are some of the weird and wonderful wins. These are the things that continue to be challenges. Friends moving away. I'm talking to you. So there are two parent friends that I would say I've hung out a lot with in recent months in the last year, both of whom are moving. Not too far. One to South London, one to Hertfordshire, but it still makes me sad because they were like my regular people who actually, if I messaged being like, hey, do you want to do a thing? Generally, they'd be up for it and we would hang out. So that's a bit of a bummer. And then also other friends moving out of London. So like non-parent friends, but like some of my friends from uni who are in London who are all now planning on leaving the city. And that's an interesting one as well, because Dan and I have occasionally talked hypothetically about like, would we ever move to Manchester, which is where I'm from, and my parents and my sister, and I've got a few friends still there. But here's my theory about London and the comings and goings from London. And let me know if this rings true for you. So many people move to London in young adulthood. That was me and the vast majority of my friends. But now me and my friends are at that age where everyone is thinking about buying homes, having kids, all of that kind of stuff. And London is just huge and expensive. And so most of my friends are moving back home or like moving back to near where they're from and planning on settling down there and not settling in London. And the only people, the ones who I see who stay in London are the ones who are from London, because they've already got a whole network. They've got their parents, they've got siblings, they've got their school friends, they've got all of their people in their community, they've got their network already here. So like, why would they move away? And so the thing that I find challenging is that, you know, Dan and I, both not from London, both don't have family and childhood networks of people in London. And slowly but surely, all of our friends in a similar position are leaving London. And so the friends that we are left with in London are the ones that already have family here, already have friends here. And so you're kind of a bit untethered because you're like trying to be friends with those people. But how do you infiltrate, for lack of a better word, like a whole community, like a whole group and a whole like network that they already have? Whereas it's easier to make friends, I think, and connect with people who are kind of in a similar boat in terms of not having those connections, not having family in London. And here's an important point that I want to make. When it comes to building local community, obviously, you know, the first thing in my mind is like what it will do for me and the benefits that I will get from it, but it's a give and take thing. Like, I can't expect other people to show up for me in the way that I want them to if I don't show up for others. But in many instances, I've tried to be that person. Like, friend was doing some like renovations on their kitchen, and I was like, hey, if you want to bring your kid over here whilst you get that done, that's totally fine. Like, you know, if you need to get your kid out of the way, like we can have her, you know, so you can get stuff done. That's something that I would love for somebody else to do for me. But she was like, oh, don't worry, like my mum's taking her. And it's like, okay, cool, good for you. So there is an element of it being a bit harder to create the kinds of connections that I want with people that are more rooted, basically. And it's like, do we stay the long haul? Do we stay, knuckle down and try and become more rooted ourselves? Or do we go like everyone else and leave the Londoners to it? It's hard, it's hard. As I said, another challenge has been having my non-parent friends show up for coffee mornings. But one of my friends has started doing a very similar thing, but it's like a full moon gathering. And so it's, you know, every month when there's a full moon and it's in the evening. And so that to me feels like the child-free version of our coffee mornings. And I went to one of them the last full moon and it was just so lovely. And so I just think it's so beautiful. And whatever kind of community it is that you want and that you need, like, you can be the person that creates that space for others. And so I've created the family-friendly coffee morning at 10 a.m. on a Sunday that, you know, people with kids want to go to because they've been up for hours already. And then my other friend has created the like evening witchy full moon gathering, let's all cast spells and journal together for that purpose and for those kinds of connections and that kind of community. And I love it. I love it. Another challenge, although I'm not going to see it as a challenge and more of like, I think this might be a goal of mine this year, which is to hang out with at least one, maybe more, of my local mum friends without children. It's not happened yet. Can we do it? That to me would be like a milestone moment of us hanging out without our kids around. And then I think in terms of challenges, this article perfectly encapsulates what it is that I'm thinking and feeling. And my friend Frankie sent this to me, who is also a mum, but lives on the other side of London. So do we ever see each other? No. We did one play date with our kids at the Tate Modern, and then occasionally we see each other separately for work. So that's good. We do get to hang out with our kids. But I want to actually read some quotes from this article. It's called The Village Nobody Wants. Ooh, did this article kind of like hurt in a good way. So these are some of the things that it says. These people absolutely have the time to build community. It's just not a priority. And I think the reason why this article just like really just like hit me was because it's basically about how everybody says, oh yeah, like it takes a village, and people complain about loneliness in motherhood and the erosion of local community, and then they don't do anything because actually, like, do they want to? Like, I don't know. But here's another quote. I'm not great keeping in touch with friends. Since it's clearly so much one-sided work, I've stopped really putting in the effort to make local friends. I have some free time. It's just that my free time is spent largely at home with my husband and kids or doing a creative hobby. And that is so true because in my free time, you know, if I have free time, I'm hanging out with Dan and Rowan, or I'm reading, or I'm baking, or playing tennis. And, you know, none of those things are really me putting in the extra effort to like create that local community, even though I do have the time. And then this last one, it's not that everyone is lying about being too busy, it's that nobody, including me, wants to devote an inordinate amount of time to creating a village if nobody else is going to be interested. And that bit hurt because that's kind of where I'm at. I'm at the point of trying to devote time to creating this village that it feels like nobody wants, but then occasionally there is good feedback and people want it. But it does really feel like an uphill battle, because at what point of like trying and trying and trying do you just kind of have to go, well, clearly nobody wants this, so why am I doing it? But luckily for me, with the successes that we've had and the things that have been good, it is clear to me that it is something that people want. And, you know, everyone's got their own shit going on. And so maybe being the instigator isn't a priority for them. But you know what? Being the instigator can be a priority for me right now. And it is. And so I'm happy to take on that role. But that is not to say I'm going to be the perfect local friend. There was definitely stuff in that article that made me kind of reflect and be like, okay, yes, I also need to be, you know, be inconvenienced slightly to be there for somebody else. Otherwise, why should I expect that of anyone else? But there we go. Those are some of the things that I'm thinking and feeling about local community, loneliness in motherhood, making friends. I will say, anytime I make content about friendships like this, it feels really vulnerable. Like, it feels really weird to be saying that I want friends and that I don't have what I want, or that I'm trying to make friends. Like, it feels weirdly like vulnerable and like strange, and like, I don't know, I don't have a better word for it other than vulnerable. It almost feels like in talking about the fact that I'm like trying to create certain kinds of connections, it's like admitting my failures as an individual, person who other people don't want to make those connections with. That feels uncomfortable to admit, but I have to remember back to if you've watched or read any actual like essays and articles about loneliness in motherhood and the erosion of local community, nuclear family, capitalism, all of that, it is not an individual problem. It's not because people don't want to be friends with me, she keeps reminding herself, but it can be very easy to think that and to kind of like spiral that way. So I try to not do that. But also maybe it is. Maybe I'm not for everyone, and that's fine. And what a funny note to leave it on. Don't forget that you can get 20% off your Surrey order with my code Witton20, link below. I would love to hear all of your thoughts about this topic, things that maybe you've been trying or other people in your community are doing that you think works really well. Give people ideas, me ideas and inspiration of how to approach this whole thing. Should I stay in London? Dig our roots down deeper here? Should we move to Manchester? Let me know what you think about what I should do with my life, but be nice, please. Well, thank you so much for watching. And speaking of community, if you do want to find yourself an internet community that do occasionally meet IRL, then you can check out The Common Room, which is my Patreon, which is full of lots of lovely people who support me making these videos, and also we just hang out in the Discord server and in person sometimes and have a lovely time. And we have a book club. So thank you to my patrons as well, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!